Hello everyone, a very good morning to all. In the last video, we started with the semester third in organic chemistry course. So we started with the first unit, that is chemistry of elements of first transition series, in which we discussed about the characteristic properties of D block elements, or we discussed about the placement of D block elements in the periodic table and their position and all about their electronic configurations. And we also discussed about the mnemonics, how to memorize D block elements along the groups. And in this video, in today's video, we'll be discussing about various periodic trends of different properties of D block elements. So let's get started. So in the last video, we discussed about the general properties of the third 3D series, that is first transition series of D block elements. They are having high melting points and boiling points, high heat of vaporization. They are all electropositive. So we'll taking up these properties one by one, and we'll be discussing about the periodic trends of these properties. So first property which we are taking is the atomic radii. So atomic radii plays a very vital role in deciding about different properties. Let's have a look how atomic radii varies as we move from left to right in the period along the 3D series. So in the 3D series, what happens is these are the values of atomic radii which are given in angstrom. So atomic radii, as we move from scandium to zinc, what is happening to atomic radii is it decreases initially, then it becomes constant nearly around chromium to iron, and then it further increase up to zinc. So the reason for all these this whole first decrease and then becoming constant and then increase is because there are two opposing factors are there. First factor is that as we move from left to right in period, in generally in periodic table, what is happening is Z effective is increasing. So by Z effective we mean that effective nuclear charge is increasing because number of protons are increasing inside the nucleus and electrons are being added to the same shell. Moreover, here the electrons are getting added to the d subshell, which are having poor shielding effect. So due to the poor shielding effect, increase in Z effective and increase in electronic charge. If we compare both these values, what is happening is increase in Z effective is much more prominent in comparison to increase in electronic charge due to poor shielding effect of D block elements. And the second factor which is opposing to this is as we move from left to right after manganese, what is happening in D subshell is that pairing of electrons takes place. As for manganese, electronic configuration is 4s2 3d5 4s2, and after manganese there are 6 electrons. For iron in d subshell, that means 1 electron gets paired, and for cobalt 2 electrons gets paired, then and so on and up to zinc. All the d subshell are having the full d subshell 3d subshell is having all the electrons as pairs. So due to due to this pairing, what is happening is inter-electronic repulsions are increasing, due to which size increases, and which is the opposing factor to Z effective. So what is happening? Let's see. Let's have a look at the trend. As we move from scandium to chromium, what is happening is size is decreasing because increase in Z effective is much more prominent, is ruling, is responsible for the increase in atomic radii, decrease in atomic radii. Here, decrease in atomic radii is due to increase in Z effective as we move from scandium to chromium. And after that, as we reach chromium manganese, what is happening? The electron pairing start to take place, and due to this electron pairing, what happens is electron pairing factor start to fight against the increasing Z effective factor, and both of them compensate each other such that the atomic radii becomes nearly constant for these 3-4 elements. And after that, as we move further to cobalt, nickel, copper, and zinc, what is happening is atomic radii is further increasing. This is because inter-electronic repulsion factor wins over overpowers over the increasing Z effective, and size increases and size is found to be maximum for zinc, which is having all the electrons paired in case of 3D subshell. So the actual order becomes, as the elements are, the sequence is scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, and zinc. So the actual order of atomic radii becomes scandium, titanium, zinc. Here zinc takes the position from 10th to 3rd position, and then vanadium, then there is next four elements are having almost comparable atomic radii, and copper takes the place from 9th to 7th position, then comes cobalt, and then in the last nickel is there. So nickel is having least atomic size in case of 3D series. Also, if we compare ionic radii of different ions, as we all know that d block elements are known for having variable oxidation state. The reason for variable oxidation states exhibited by the d block elements will be discussed later, but as these exhibit variable oxidation states, and as we all know that with increase in electropositive charge on any of the species, size decreases. This is due to the fact that number of electrons are decreasing because any species is becoming electropositive. It gains a positive charge by losing some electrons, and nuclear charge remains the same. So Z effective is increasing, is more in comparison, more in the cation in comparison to the neutral atom. So this is why ionic radii is increasing as the oxidation state on the metal increases. So here ionic radii is maximum. Ionic radii is maximum for neutral, then for 1 positive, then for 2 positive, and then for 3 positive. So ionic radii is least for the species which is having highest oxidation state or having highest charge on it. This is for the case of cations, not the anions. For anions the case is opposite, but for d block elements these are all electropositive in nature and they do not form any anions. Next factor, next property which we are going to discuss is the density. So density of transition elements are generally high in comparison to the neighboring S and P block elements. As we have already discussed in the properties of D block elements, densities are higher. So these densities are higher because of the poor shielding effect of D electrons. So there is continuous, as we move from left to right, what is happening is continuous increase in Z effective is there. In general, also the ionic radii decreases. Also, the element which is having highest density belongs to the D block elements, that is osmium, which belongs to the iron group. फिर रूठी उसको हंसाओ, that belongs to the 5D series. Iron, ruthenium, osmium, and meitnerium. So next, so we were coming back to the density factor. The density is increasing as we move from left to right in a period along the 3D series. This is due to the fact that as we move from left to right, Z effective is increasing continuously from left to right. And with increase in Z effective, what is happening is volume is getting decreased as the density formula is equals to mass upon volume, and mass is constantly increasing because the number of protons and neutrons are constantly increasing. So mass is continuously increasing and density is equal to mass upon volume. Here if we say that density is directly proportional to mass and mass is increasing and it is inversely proportional to volume and volume is decreasing. So density must increase as we move from left to right in the period along the 3D series. Next property to be discussed here are the melting points and the boiling points of the 3D series elements belonging to the 3D series. So for the melting point and boiling point, first we need to know that what type of bonding is there in case of D block elements. So as all these D block elements, or we can say the 3D series members, are metallic in nature. So in case of metals, the type of bonding which exists is the metallic bonding, and metallic bonding can be explained very well by the electron C model for metal. This is the electron C model. What happens is that the metal ions are present, and in the which are called as kernels, are present surrounded by the electrons, which can be imagined as sea of electrons. That metal ions are present as fishes in the sea of electrons. So coming back to the melting point and boiling point values, so here we have written the elements. Second line in green color we have written the melting point values. Third line we have written the boiling point values, and here we have written the number of unpaired electrons. So for metallic bonding, the strength of metallic bonding increases with increase in the number of unpaired electrons. This is a general rule that more the number of unpaired electrons, more would be the electrons around the positively charged kernels, and more intense is going to be the bonding, and more would be the values of melting points and boiling points. So from here we can see that there is exception for manganese and copper is there, which I'll be discussing later. So if we ignore these two values, what is happening is that melting point and the boiling point, both these values increases up to vanadium, and then they start to decrease. Constant decrease is there up to zinc for both the melting points and boiling point. This can be related to the number of unpaired electrons. As we move from scandium to chromium, what is happening? Scandium to vanadium, what is happening is number of unpaired electrons. Here there are 1 unpaired electron. Here there are 2 unpaired electrons in d subshell, then 3 for vanadium. Chromium is having maximum unpaired electrons, that is 6. Then comes manganese, which is an exception. It is having 5 unpaired electrons, and so here melting points and boiling points are increasing because number of unpaired electrons are increasing. And after manganese, what is happening is number of unpaired electrons is decreasing, and the decrease in number of unpaired electrons leads to weakening of the metallic bonding, which leads to the lowering of melting points and boiling points. So now coming to the exception of manganese and zinc. For manganese and zinc, what is happening is they are having exceptionally they have attained extra stability due to their exceptional electronic configuration of exactly half filled electronic configuration, that is D5, and for copper it is D10. So it is 3D5 4s2, and for copper it is 3D9 4s, sorry 3D10 4s1. So this extra stability leads to what happens for these two cases is that the electrons acquire the extra stability and they are reluctant to participate in the bonding, and due to the stable electronic configuration, electrons present in manganese and copper do not participate in the bonding. So that is why there is exceptionally low melting points and boiling points for, especially for manganese. This is the case that it is having exceptional electronic configuration, which is exactly half in electronic configuration, and due to which electrons belonging to manganese or belonging to 3D subshell of manganese do not take part in bonding, due to which bonding becomes weak and melting points and boiling points get lowered. So this is the explanation for exceptional melting point and boiling point for manganese, and in general melting points and boiling points first increases and then decreases depending upon the number of unpaired electrons present in the D subshell. Next property which we are going to discuss here is ionization energy. Here we are talking about the first ionization energy. For the so the values of ionization energies for different elements belonging to the 3D series of D block elements are given here. These values are given in the units are kilojoule per mole. So here for ionization energies, we will discuss this variation point wise. So as we move from left to right, what is happening is nuclear charge, that is Z, is increasing constantly due to increase in nuclear charge. So Z is increasing as charge on the nucleus, number of protons are getting added to the nucleus and nuclear charge is increasing. And electrons are getting added to the penultimate shell, which is having poor screening. So ionization energies in general increases from scandium to zinc, but there is irregular increase, and the reason for this irregular increase, and the few exceptions are also there, which we are discussing in the next point. So after iron, ionization energy slightly decreases for cobalt and nickel, and then it increases for copper and zinc. So the reason for this is that after manganese, as we have discussed for the atomic radii, what is happening, the electron pairing factor comes into play, due to which size increases, due to which the electron-electron repulsions due to pairing of electrons in what happens is leads to increase in size. Here the symbol is upward pointing arrow, size increases, and thus Z effective, that is effective nuclear charge, decreases, and thus ionization energy decreases for cobalt and nickel. Also, in the next point we can see that also increase from chromium to manganese. There is an exceptionally high increase from chromium to manganese and from copper to zinc. This is because of the fact that they are having exactly half-filled and fully filled configurations, and due to which what is happening is ionization energies are maximum. Also, in comparison to copper and chromium, in comparison to these, the preceding members, copper and chromium are having comparable ionization energies, or we can say not much increase is there if we compare them to their preceding members, because they want to lose the first electron that is present in 4s1 and to acquire the exactly half-filled and fully filled electronic configuration. So this is the driving force for the exception for the manganese, exception for the whole series, and this is why there are few exceptions. But in general, what is happening to ionization energy is that Z effective is increasing and ionization energy thus increases, but with small variation, small irregular increase is there, and the reason for that is the introduction of electron-electron repulsion factor into it. Next factor which we are going to discuss, next property along with the periodic variation of the next property is the metallic character and structure of solids. Metallic character doesn't much vary as we move from left to right in the 3D series. The variation, as far as their variation is concerned, there is not much variation. All are metallic in nature as they are electropositive. All the D block elements possess all the characteristics of metal, such as high density, hardness, high melting points, high boiling points, high tensile strength, conductance, luster. So the exceptions are zinc, cadmium, and mercury. They are harder, less volatile, brittle than the S block metals. So except for mercury, all are solids. All the D block elements are solid. They possess lattice structures like hexagonal closed packed structure, body centered cubic closed packed structure, like all other metals of the periodic table. So also the type of lattice depends upon the electrons belonging to SnP orbitals, the valence shell of the SnP orbitals, those that are involved in metallic bonding. But as far as your syllabus is concerned, this point, the explanation for this, that what type of structure is exhibited by which element out of the 3D series, is not of your concern as far as your syllabus is concerned. So they possess different lattice structures. Yes, this is true because they are metallic in nature. So all are having good metallic character. Next property which we are going to discuss is the reducing character. So reducing character, what do we mean by reducing character? Reducing character means the power to reduce others. That how how easily it can reduce others. That means tendency of getting oxidized. That how easily one can lose electrons and one can make other species to gain electrons. That means they can how they can undergo oxidation, how easily they can undergo oxidation and reduce the other species. So for the discussion of the reducing character, we can divide our 3D series into two parts. That is, first is first part is from scandium to manganese, where there are where there are no paired electrons up to manganese, as in the d subshell no unpaired electrons are there. So first part is the no unpaired electron part, and the second part is the next 5 elements which are having paired electrons in the d subshell. So here the different oxidation states exhibited by these metals have been shown uh, under the symbol of the element, and the oxidation states which are not much stable have been circled with red color for different species. Here under in black color we have written the electronic configuration. So as we have already discussed that the D block elements are having tendency of variable oxidation state. So variable oxid, the reason is for that is here that uh, is that is due to the fact that uh, during ionization, what is happening, the electrons present in the penultimate shell, that is the 3D subshell, also participate in ionization due to the comparable energies of 4s and 3D. The ionization doesn't limit itself to the 4s electrons. The ionization also involves 3D electrons, and they also get ionized, they also get lost by the metals, and they participate in the bonding. So that is why they exhibit variable oxidation states. So reason for exhibiting variable oxidation is the comparable energies of 3D and 4s, due to which the 3D electrons, which is the penultimate shell, also participate in the ionization. So here we have divided the whole series into two parts, first 5 elements and then next 5 elements. So for the first part, what is there is that from as we move from scandium to manganese, minimum oxidation state is the number of electrons present in the 4s subshell. So here minimum oxidation state is +2, again +2, as 4s is having, here it is +1, as 4s is having 1 electron for chromium, and then +2 for manganese also. And maximum oxidation state is the total number of electrons present in the 3D and 4s subshell. So for scandium it is +3, for titanium it is +4, for vanadium it is +5, for chromium it is +6, 5 + 1, and for manganese it is +7. So this is why we have divided them into two parts, that we can know the minimum and maximum oxidation state for the first five elements based upon this rule. And for the second part, what is there is minimum oxidation state is the number of electrons again present in the 4s subshell, but maximum oxidation state is not related to electronic configuration. It is not dependent upon the electronic configuration. They exhibit much more variation in their oxidation state in comparison to the first part elements. So out of the oxidation state data, after evaluating the oxidation state data, the following inferences can be drawn about the elements of 3D series. So these inferences are that iron, which is having the electronic configuration of 3d6 4s2, it seems to exhibit the oxidation state of +8, which is possible for D block elements. But for iron, it is not possible due to smaller size, but the other group members of iron, that is osmium, ruthenium, and hassium, they exhibit oxidation states of +8. Next, we have the point is maximum oxidation state for any of the transition element is +8, but not for 3D series. So for 3D series, maximum oxidation state is of +7. Lower oxidation states of the 3D series, elements of the 3D series are generally, the compounds are ionic, and with higher oxidation states they form generally covalent compounds, that is +7 and +8. Generally covalent compounds are formed by the D block elements. When higher oxidation states are present, such compounds are generally covalent, and the lower oxidation state compounds are generally ionic in nature. So from the oxidation state data, we have got the idea about the minimum and maximum oxidation states exhibited by different elements belonging to 3D series by dividing all the 3D series elements into two parts, first 5 in first part and next 5 in second part. Next point is that we can also predict about the relative stability of different oxidation states based upon the ionization energy data. Here we are comparing two elements out of the nickel group. Here nickel belongs to the 3D series and platinum belongs to the 5D series, that is nahi padhoge pitoge dost. So this belongs to the 3D series, nickel, and platinum belongs to the 5D series. Here in the first column we have written the sum of ionization energy 1 plus ionization energy 2. By ionization energy 1 we mean when nickel loses 1 electron, the energy required to remove the most loosely bound first electron, and then here second electron. So sum total of two energies is written here for nickel. Then ionization energy 3 and 4 are for the formation of nickel plus 3 and nickel plus 4. So sum is there, and these are the total energies. So for the case of nickel, if we want to, if we compare the sum of first and second ionization energies, the ionization energy for platinum is higher. That is, the formation of platinum 2 is difficult in comparison to the formation of nickel 2. But if we have a look at the overall formation of +4 oxidation state for nickel and platinum, what has happened is ionization energy, the sum total of all the ionization energies is less for platinum and more for nickel. So nickel needs more energy to ionize its 4 electrons. So that is why. So from here we can predict about the existence of different complexes. Here the metal ion is in +4 oxidation state in this complex, and the formation of the platinum complex is much more facile in comparison to that of nickel complex. So that is why here the ionization energy for this complex is very high in comparison to this complex, so which leads to the non-existence of this complex. So we can predict about the existence and non-existence of any complex based upon the ionization energy values. So next property we have electrode potentials. What is electrode potential? So electrode potential in general is the tendency to gain electrons, or electrode potential is generally written in the form of reduction potential. Reduction potential is the tendency to gain electrons, that means tendency to get reduced. More is the value of electrode potential, more is the tendency to get reduced. So if electrode potential value is less negative and positive, we can say that it means the reduction potential is high. The values of electrode potential can be negative or positive. If it is less negative and positive, that means reduction potential is high, and if it is negative and low positive, that means reduction potential is low. The species will undergo oxidation preferably. So, or also we can say that lower the value of electrode potential, more stable is the oxidation state. So for metal, if electrode potential values, or we can say the reduction potential values, which are generally termed as electrode potential. So the lower the values of electrode potential, stable is going to be the oxidation state of any metal. So if we want to compare the two oxidation states of copper, that is +1 and +2, here reduction potential is lower for the case of copper 2. So it is going to be more stable in comparison to copper 1. Further, electric potential values depends upon different energies involved for the formation of the species in its aqueous form from the metallic solids. So three types of energies are involved. First, what happens is sublimation energies is required. Sublimation energies is also known as energy of atomization for the case of metals. That is when the metals are converted to the atoms. If they are separated in the form of atoms, then they need to be converted to the gaseous form. So this sublimation energy, which is equal to the atomization energy for the case of metals. So this is here it is given the positive sign, that means it is the energy required. Next we have the hydration energy for the conversion of gaseous species into the. Next we have the ionization energy for the conversion of the neutral species to the ionic species. Then we have hydration energy, which is having negative value, that means which is the energy released. Ionization energy is the energy required, that is why it is having positive sign. And sublimation energy is again the energy required for the conversion of solid to gaseous species. So more is going to be the more is this energy, more is going to be the electrode potential, that is more positive is going to be the electrode potential, and lower is the stability of that particular oxidation state. So for now the question arises, I would like to give you here a brief idea about that how we find the electrode potential values. So the electrode potential values are generally, I think we should stop here. We'll be discussing this part again in the next video. So that is it for this video. So we are here comparing we are knowing how to calculate the electrode potential values. So this electrode potential, that the periodic variation of electrode potential for different species will be discussing in the next video. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Keep studying.